The Dark Knight detective is not a stranger to weird crime cases. After all, over the years, he's faced some pretty peculiar foes with bizarre gimmicks and odd appearances. But very few can match the Origami Man and what became known as the Paperchase case. It was a case so far out there, Batman had to team up with Gotham's weirdest hero, the Creeper, in order to solve it. Did that get your attention? Well, let's get right into it. Paperchase was published in issue 178 of The Brave and the Bold in 1981. The story was written by Alan Brennert and penciled by Batman legend Jim Aparo. Like I said, it's a Batman and the Creeper team-up story. In this story, Gotham is being plagued by a new serial killer who commits what have come to be known as the doll murders, named so due to the calling card left on each victim. A chain of paper dolls. The victims appear to be chosen randomly, ranging from homeless junkies to drunken college kids. So far there's been 10 killings in only 3 weeks. Batman is naturally desperate to crack the case, but so far he's come up with squat, except for more bodies and more paper dolls. Meanwhile, a new talk show has risen in popularity in Gotham, Commentary with Dr. Clayton Wetley. Dr. Wetley is taking advantage of these killings to further his agenda. The doctor is some kind of conservative extremist. I'm not quite sure what to classify him as politically, but basically he dislikes anything that's weird and unusual, hates equal rights for all, and champions for majority rule, the majority being whoever Dr. Wetley considers to be normal. He uses the paper doll killer as an example of what happens when society succumbs to moral decay. Well, turns out a lot of people agree with him, and can you really blame them? They live in Gotham City after all, the weirdest city on Earth, where crazy clowns, penguin men, and scarecrows commit murder and mayhem on a weekly basis. And now a paper doll killer to boot. I'm just saying, if I lived in Gotham City, I think I would lose my fucking mind too. Anyway, his show airs on Gotham's Wham TV, where a certain reporter named Jack Ryder also works. Jack Ryder being the alias of the Creeper. Ah, you see how things are coming together. Ryder doesn't agree at all with Dr. Wetley and considers his televised rants to be dangerous. Well, turns out he's right, as the next time Jack transforms into the Creeper and goes on a prowl, he's attacked by a bunch of angry citizens for being a weird freak. They've had it with anyone in a colorful getup, I guess. The Creeper evoking the Joker with his green hair and airy laugh probably doesn't help either. Anyway, Creeper has the same idea as Batman and wants to track down the paper doll killer. So he decides to use the same detective method as Batman. Just swing around town and hope you run into something. Well, miraculously, it actually fucking works. Both of them at the same time just happen to stumble down the very alley where the killer is currently cornering his next intended victim. Turns out the killer is definitely not normal. It's not even a human being. It's a being made out of paper. A paperman, if you will. This paperman has some pretty impressive powers too. It can manipulate all paper. I know that sounds pretty silly, but it uses it to very deadly effect, hurling a storm of sharp paper rockets at Batman and constricting the Creeper with a stack of paper. Paper can be used more effectively than you think. I mean, just imagine all those paper cuts. Anyway, Batman then thinks he's got it all figured out as he attempts to burn the Paperman with one of his little gadgets. Well, the Paperman burns alright, but he then quickly reforms and runs away. The two heroes failed to apprehend the crook, but at least they saved his victim. The next night, Batman and the Creeper stalk the Paperman yet again. This time they decide to just sit on a rooftop for 5 hours and hope that the Paperman will just happen to walk by. Well, of course, he eventually fucking does. This time he's attacking a Spanish-speaking woman, calling her a parasite that lives off the charity of the majority. Like last time, Batman and Creeper failed to catch the Paperman, but they do save his victim. They do learn a lot more about their bizarre foe too. All parts of him are alive, and cutting off his head, for example, doesn't really do anything except split the creature in two parts. Batman also manages to take a sample of the Paperman, and after analyzing it in the Batcave, uncovers that it's Japanese origami paper. The Dark Knight thus dubs the creature the Origami Man. Turns out, Batman just happens to also know that Gotham's most known origami collector is none other than Dr. Clayton Wetley. The Origami Man also spouted racist stuff about the majority when it attacked that Latin woman. Obviously, the good doctor is somehow involved. But how? Well, Batman and Creeper decide to take the direct approach and just barge right into Wetley's bedroom through his window at night. He denies any involvement though and calls the pair freaks who encourage youngsters to be different instead of being productive citizens. Swinging away without a confession, Batman comments to Creeper that the case seems too obvious. Why would Dr. Wetley use an Origami Man when he himself is a known origami collector? All evidence would point to him. Well, turns out Batman has a theory as to what's actually going on, and he decides to test it. But it requires a bait for the Origami Man. The Creeper thus volunteers himself, or rather his alter ego Jack Ryder. 2 days later, Jack Ryder goes on the air on Wham TV, condemning his colleague Dr. Wetley's message about the majority and explains what he considers true democracy to be instead. Naturally, this upsets Wetley, and that's exactly what Batman and Creeper wants. After the show, Ryder strolls down a dark Gotham alley of a seedy neighborhood, and true enough, the Origami Man shows up to kill him. The creature doesn't realize it's been set up though, because Batman is right there too, and he's got Dr. Wetley with him, whom he just straight up kidnapped earlier. Batman forces Wetley to look at the scene, look at the Origami Man. It is then revealed that the creature is indeed controlled by the Doctor, but unknowingly so. Turns out Dr. Wetley has suppressed psychic powers. He's a metahuman, a freak himself. He was bullied and abused as a child and learned to suppress his powers to appear normal. Thus, growing up, he began to hate anyone who was weird and different, because I guess who he really hated was himself. Well, all that suppressed power and frustration over the years leaked out unconsciously and formed this grotesque killer out of the Doctor's origami collection. It's further fueled by the anger and hatred of the viewers of Dr. Wetley's show. Upon realizing this truth, Dr. Wetley has a mental breakdown, and the Origami Man is destroyed. Thus ends one of Batman's weirdest cases. This really is one of the most unique Batman tales of the Bronze Age. It feels like something out of a Grant Morrison Doom Patrol comic. Sure, there are some silly parts, like Batman's subpar detective techniques, and it's never really explained how he figures out that Wetley has subconscious powers to control the Origami Man. I guess he made an educated guess, and just happened to be correct. But I can forgive the story for these flaws, because it's 1981. Most stories from this era had way more contrivances and silly coincidences. You also had a limited page count to cram so much story into, so some stuff had to be sacrificed. If this story was made today, it probably would have been stretched across 3 or 4 issues, giving the writer way more breathing room. Well, anyway, I've been a fan of this story for years. The Origami Man really is a neat concept, and Dr. Clayton Wetley turned out to be a pretty compelling character. I don't know why it took me so long to do a video on this issue. Well, I'm glad that now it's finally done.